Huh? Oh, hey everyone, this is TFC328 here, and, I'm playing a GameCube game, so I must be reviewing a direct-to-video nostalgic movie of mine. I think we should change the scenery. There we go. Hello everyone, I'm TFC328 here, and it's not about what you do differently, it's about what you do well. Growing up, one of the franchises I remembered loving a lot as a kid was Bionicle. Originally a subset of the Technic line that was released at the turn of the millennium, Bionicle was LEGO's attempt at creating a toy line accompanied by their own multimedia storylines. And it was awesome! The stories were epic, the characters and setting were memorable, as were the commercials, and the toys were as much fun to experiment with as they were to play with. Even today, it's one of LEGO's defining franchises, even getting a split-second mention in the LEGO Movie, as well as a proper revival. And while it saddens me to say that we never got a cartoon based on this property, considering that the stories were actually told through books and comics, we did actually get 4 direct-to-video CG movies based on 4 of the different storylines. And we're here to look at the first of them today, Mask of Light. How does it hold up? Well, that's what we're here to find out today. So, let's not waste any time and dive right in. You ever have that fictional thing you can recite word for word at a moment's notice? Well, the beginning of this movie is that for me. It's simple enough to draw you in, but deep enough to keep you engaged. It tells us of the Great Spirit, the Matoran, the virtues, the island, and even the villain and his motivations. Quick, informative, and engrossing. Perhaps the best way to start a movie like this.
The Makuta was free to unleash his shadows. And unleash them, he did.
After our title and opening credits, what do you know, this is Shakespeare, we meet the 2 characters we'll be focusing on, Jala and Takua. And it's here where you notice one of the stranger things in the movie. The character models don't really look like the toys. Okay, most of them have enough of the general design cues to tell them as those characters, but was using the set models at the time too limiting, or was this style intentional? Probably, considering that this would remain true of all the films until Legend Reborn. But that doesn't really help my argument, since that was years later. Anyways, Jala's looking for Takua because they're going to be late for their Coley match. What's Coley? Basically soccer with giant ice cream scoopers. Or lacrosse, whichever comparison works for you. Takua was looking around in a volcano for a special rock that, once the Indiana Jones trap activated, falls into the lava and breaks apart to reveal the titular Mask of Light.
Wow. Never seen this language.
That's the Matoran's natural language. This line is even more baffling since he comes across more of it later on and explicitly reads it.
Onokoro Highway.
That's like a Japanese person looking at Japanese kanji and saying the same thing. I could translate it for you right now via the power of Google. And it reads, Technic Organic Apps, One Destiny. An in-joke? The Great Spirit is a strange one indeed. There's no time to ponder, however, as lava starts flooding in, prompting the arrival of Toa Tahu, voiced by, of all people, Scott McNeil, who I know best for his Beast Wars work. One display of mask powers later, they make it out safe and our 2 Tomatoran arrive at their Coley game. Tahu and Gali bicker at each other for a bit before the game begins proper. And when I saw this as a kid, I swore the announcer named Jala's position Captain of the Darn. Anyways, Got Coral's representatives win the match, and their ceremonial bow exposes the titular mask to the crowd, transitioning to the exposition about the mask, and basically getting the plot going by tasking Jala and Takua to find the 7th Toa the mask belongs to.
Wait. At the stadium, there was a sign. The mask threw all its light upon one Matoran, Jala. He must be the herald of the 7th Toa.
Well, they all clearly missed the part where the mask dulled around Jala and shone around Takua, but to be fair, being blessed by light is a legit claim to fame, even though some of the dialogue implies that the Tomatoran caught on to that fact themselves.
But I didn't tell them the truth! Say something!
After a brief scene with Gali noticing a star representing the 7th Toa, we get an establishing moment for our villain, who awakens 3 of the new sets from that year, the Rakshi. Turaga Vakama, the village elder, sees our heroes off as they begin their quest to find the 7th Toa. Meanwhile, Gali is attacked by the Rakshi. She hides right under their noses, do they even have noses? But finds that they intend to attack Takoro, so she rushes over there to warn them.
None have breached Takoro's gates before, and none shall this day.
But with walls as effective as Pacific Rims, they break in and make fools out of the Toa.
Here's Johnny!
It's almost like it's making up for its lack of mockable material early on by just giving me opportunities every few minutes. Like Vakama whacking one of the Rakshi in the head with his staff.
Back, you foul creature!
This is silly enough on its own, it doesn't need my help. As Tahu's struggle with the Rakshi gets him poisoned, which ends up heightening his aggression and arrogance, Takoro is lost, only for us to be told that they were actually looking for the Mask of Light. Speaking of, we meet up with the Tamatoran in the jungles of Lake Koro, when they get attacked by a bear-like machine. As Jala tries his best to fight this thing, a la Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate, Toa Lewa joins in on the fun.
Ever windfly a gecko bird?
Well, not one that looked like that. Seriously, it looks more like an organic creature given biomechanical implants. Actually, that sounds even better. Cyborg Jungle, someone make that a reality! Anyways, the gecko bird flies our main characters to the icy mountains of Kokoro.
The drums of Lakoro bring a sorry bad story. Your village has fallen to Rakshi, the Makuta sons.
He must be a master of the language of boom. It's at this point that Lewa, who had previously offered to join them in their search, had to leave to catch up with the other Toa in order to combat the Rakshi. That sucks since he could have stayed alongside them and had a 3-for-1 deal. Oh well, at least he had the excuse of not knowing that the Rakshi were after the Mask of Light, and the Tamatoran ran into Kopaka for that. Or not. I know the Rakshi are supposed to be super powerful, but our great heroes have done nothing but get knocked down in this movie. I thought these Toa were supposed to be legendary heroes sent by the Great Spirit to save them from the Makuta and his threats. These guys have less credibility than I do!
The mask!
I'll use it as a water paddle. Genius!
Rakshi, washed and chill.
Sounds like a way to serve drinks.
Vodka martini.
Washed and chill.
Kopaka does manage to freeze the Rakshi, taking care of the threat for now. The Makuta takes it well.
My noble sons, bound in ice. Now I must pierce that which the Toa hold dear.
But before that, he threatens Takua by bargaining the Mask of Light for everything Takua holds near and dear to him, prompting him to leave Jala to find the 7th Toa on his own, accomplishing nothing, really. Speaking of Toa, it's strange to note that Pohatu is never in a scene without a Scott McNeil performance, as he's pulling double duty as the Toa of Earth, Onua. The remaining half of the Rakshi are sent to Onukoro, where Onua uses Earthquake. It's not very effective. And guess what? The Toa get curb stomped.
What an epic sham!
While Takua grows some balls, to even less effect, Tahu intervenes, only to start succumbing to the effects of the poison and attack Gali. Tahu is dispatched rather anticlimactically, and Onukoro was lost too, but by Onua's lack of foresight.
But how did you keep the ceiling from collapsing on us, too?
A valid point, but lampshading your problem isn't going to solve it. Gali heals Tahu's poison while Takua catches up with Jala to warn him of the new Rakshi, who also catch up with him at this great temple place. Thankfully, so did the Toa, and they start turning the tables on the Rakshi thanks to
The real superpower of teamwork!
but not before one of them kills Jala by overloading him with fear? I've seen dumber ways to die.
You know who you are. You were always different. You know who you are.
We heard you half a minute ago, Jala. That didn't need to be repeated so soon.
You know who you are.
Yes, I do. Now can we just...
You know.
Just shut up before you become a running gag. And here's the big plot twist of the film. Takua was the 7th Toa the whole time! I actually like this twist, since it makes the grand, near-mythological being a somewhat relatable character as opposed to just being a stoic god amongst men. But why were we on an island-wide road trip just to figure that out?
The path you walked was not to be here, but in here.
Yep, it was all a self-discovery arc. Interesting way to accomplish that. So Takanuva and the other Toa build a transport, only for Takanuva to take the ride alone.
But united, our power defeated the Rakshi.
And all it took Takanuva was pointing his oversized ice pick in the right direction to annihilate the remaining Rakshi single-handedly. I think it's clear who should fight the Makuta, even if it's spitting in the face of the first of the three virtues. So Takanuva descends into Makuta's lair, and after the intimidation monologue, Makuta decides that the final battle will be a Koli match. The climactic clash is going to be a round of sports. I know he did it for the sake of irony, but that's like if the final boss of, say, Mega Man X was like,
X, I'm impressed you made it this far. We shall determine who is the strongest with a game of soccer.
You're insane, Sigma!
Ah well, we do get a cool action scene out of it, even with more reused animation than a Magical World transformation, before Makuta intimidates Takanuva more, via more reused animation, which prompts Takanuva to take a page out of Optimus Prime's book.
Give me your faith.
Though, considering this movie came out first, does that mean that Revenge of the Fallen ripped this off? The two fall into the oddly shaped pool, and they re-emerge as a hybrid where apparently Takanuva is the dominant personality. Interesting mutation. So it opens the door protecting Mananui, revives Jala because he'll be important in 3 years, and it gets crushed, leaving behind the Mask of Light. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but the film's almost over, so let's wrap this up. Takanuva is revived as well, the Great Spirit is reawakened, except not really. Jala and Takanuva bookend the film, and then reveal the long-lost island of Metru Nui, setting up the slightly better prequel sequel and the not-as-good third film. Legend Reborn is further off than the rest, but the less said about that one, the better. Maybe later. So that was Bionicle, Mask of Light, and it's aged, but I still like it. I still find myself invested in these characters and interested in their journey. I feel that the animation, though a tad dated and infrequently recycled, is still nice to look at. The settings they travel to are varied, the villain is presented as he should be, the voices suit the characters very well, and the story progresses at a natural pace. With that said, the reuse of animation is kinda distracting when it happens. The Toa are complete wimps until the climax, and not every performance is believable, but I do think that the film holds up for my standards. I wouldn't call it one of my favorite movies, nor is it even the best representation of the franchise, but as a standalone film, I can look back on it fondly and still get a decent film out of it. Will you like it? Maybe not, but since the film itself isn't even that long, it wouldn't hurt to at least give it a watch. I'm Transformers Fanco328, and whether or not my next video is my countdown or my next review, we're going to be discussing the future, and a hero with unlimited potential. Or the red guy with the boob lights.
You can no longer hide in shadow.
I am Shadow.
I'm the world's ultimate life form. Then, the games. Farewell. Shadow! What? No!